Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to I'm going to say, a super exciting episode of Room Shots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk on the Rock Rage Radio Network. This man needs no introduction. I'm going to embarrass him for a second. I'm going to say, living legend. You may recognize him, you may not, but this is the one, the only Mr. Russ Ballard. Such a treat for me, sir. Thank you for being here.
It's great to be here, Sean. Yeah, it's great. Thanks for that introduction.
Well, I mean, you're a pretty easy guy to introduce because you've got some resume behind you. We'll go into that in a few minutes, but songs from the warehouse, hits rewired. I mean, as I'm reading this was sort of started out. We'll maybe call it a COVID project. Is that a fair statement?
Well, it started off, yeah, it started off that way. I'm always writing, so I had a lot of songs like on the drive, and so I reviewed songs. I thought, well, that's a good one. That would be good on an album. That would be good on an album. That would be good. That would be good, and wrote a few more, and that became songs from the warehouse. Uh, Fun enough, the final two, which is Resurrection and Courageous, are songs, the last couple of songs I wrote for the project. And they're the
Incredible.
ones, yeah, they're the ones that seem to be getting the attention.
Well, you've got so it's a we'll call it a double album, two CD.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like double album, yeah, yeah.
26 songs in total. There's a couple of revisits, which we'll talk about in a minute. But what was this like putting this together for you? You mentioned you had Resurrection that came in, I guess, a little towards the end, but must have been pretty neat to go through this catalog and put it, commit it to something that you were going to put out.
Yeah, well, it's something that people have said to me for many, many years. When I started getting hits with other people, although I'd written and recorded and had things like "Winning" that Santana did. I had that out as a single 4 years before Santana. I had "Since You've Been Gone." I had that out as a single on the same. That was on from the same album. And then Rainbow did it, Head East did it, Sherry America did it, Brian May did it, but I put it out in '75, and they all released it sort of after, sort of 3 years later, 2 years later, 3 years later.
Um, so as a songwriter, so in the presser, since you've been gone, which Rainbow and the others,
Yeah,
God gave rock and roll to you, which some band by the name of Kiss. I don't know if anybody's heard them, but certainly they picked that up.
yeah,
You
they
can
did it
do
all right.
magic. There's another one. So I mean, you put these songs out ahead of time, and they do okay, but then other people take them, and as a songwriter, as a guy that gets paid for what he does, I got to think that you're pretty excited about that, and pretty proud about the fact that they have a second set of legs, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just love it, actually, Sean, to be honest. I just like writing. As far as, it's very lucrative, but I loved it I wrote my first tune when I was, first tune that was covered when I was 14. And it was covered by the Shadows, who were a real big band in England. It's an instrumental, but that's the very first thing I wrote. And I realized, oh, wow, I can do it. I thought, it surprised me. We did an acetate of this thing, and the Shadows recorded it about 3 years. That's 3 years later, 4 years later,
Well,
and
and I mean, and you
yeah,
could and then you had stuff on TV, and one of my probably favorite memories of recently, and I'll say maybe 10 years ago. I mean, I was a huge Entourage fan, and there's the episode the boys are getting ready to fly to New York, and what pops on but New York Groove, and I'm going like, this is amazing. And I mean, that was you've had songs in Miami Vice. I mean, you're not a one trick pony, Mister Ballard, I guess is what I'm saying.
no, I mean, I've lived music. To be honest, I mean, I guess it's in the genes. My dad was a musician, my mum was a dancer, and my uncles all played keyboards and the piano, trumpets and stuff. I was immersed in music from the word go, and I always loved it. I used to listen to everything going on. So I mean, it's not a thing that I've done to make money. To be honest, it's just that something it's almost like a passion that I needed to keep going.
So I have to ask because I'm a huge Kiss fan. I mean, and you know, you have the history there. Obviously, the one and only hit of the four solo albums in 1978 was your song,
Yeah.
you know, which is incredible, and you know, such a still to this day it holds up as you know an iconic tune. People recognize it. How does something like that get started for you? Is it do you have a previous relationship with those artists? Do you pitch them? Do they come like is it a little bit of all the above? How does that happen?
But with Kiss, the thing with Kiss is when I was with Argent, we played the Academy of Music in New York. You know, we played there about three or four times. One of the times we played there first of all in 1970, and then we played 71. And there was this band that were on, you know, sort of. We went to the sound check, and this band were already sound checking, you know, and there was a neon kind of sign behind the back of the stage, and it said Kiss, and it was lighting up and stuff. The drum rostrum was going round and round, and it looked very interesting. But they weren't in their makeup, you know, they weren't wearing makeup because it was the sound check. So I thought these look interesting. They look like they're going to have a show, you know. And in the evening, I'm in the wings, and suddenly this band walked down to go on, and they're about 7 feet, 7.5 feet tall, you know, and with all the, you know, the stacked heels, the stacked soles on their shoes. And it was brilliant. I thought the show was great. I thought it's, you know, they're the first people to do it. And I thought it was great. And they played well. I thought they were a great band.
Um, so obviously a song like that lends itself to their sort of shtick, if you will. I mean, it's very theatrical. I saw the Argent video for that tune, geez, a couple of weeks ago, and I mean that was another band that kind of, you know, you guys had a kind of a theatrical flair. You weren't a bunch of guys in t-shirts and jeans just out there, you know, playing. You were putting on a show. Um,
Yeah.
when you look at things now, I mean, I was trying to think about some questions I could ask you that you know you hadn't been asked a million times. And as somebody has the track record that you have, um, what do you think of the music business now? The way you know artists are rewarded, the way that because I mean you've had a great long career writing songs for yourself for other people. It's pretty tough now. You look at it now and you would say what?
I could still do it. I mean, if obviously the younger artists are not going to approach me because they want to work. Well, I say work. They want to write with people their own sort of generation. They wanted, of course, you do. That's what I would have done as well. But uh, you know, there's still this. It's not the same. It's very, very sad that you know that in fact that basically it was Steve Jobs sold the music business out in the first place. You know, sold the writers out, and the music. It wasn't only Steve Jobs. I mean, he offered it to the majors, and the majors soaked it up. They loved it because they were obviously, I think, as far as I'm concerned, were rewarded pretty well. But the songwriter and the artists, you know, they laugh about it now because you know, you get a million plays on the radio, and you make sort of $100. You know what I mean? So it's
Absolutely, I do.
crazy.
I rep artists myself, so I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. So
I would never say, you know, how much do you make? But my question, as this took place, because you would be getting paid and earning your living under, you know, the old model. Then there's the switch. As an artist who, you know, your songs have sold millions and millions. Did you notice personally a difference in the way you were compensated when everything changed?
yeah, I mean, mine didn't dip that much, to be honest. I was getting quite a few syncs. I was getting, you know, and the thing is, once records started to sell, record stores folded. Every writer and every publisher wanted to get into syncs, which was basically music for ads, music for movies, music for TV shows, music in the stores, music in restaurants, that sort of thing. uh, Music elevators, and that sort of still, you know, that still kept the songwriter going. But to get a good sync, you know, to get a good sync, you could earn big money. You know, sometimes you'll get a sync, which would be like an advert. You get the song playing for 20 seconds on an ad, and you get 50 grand, 50,000 for it, which was probably like getting two hit singles in the old days, So that's what everyone's trying to do now. Everybody wants to keep that going, and it's great. I would still songwrite if I didn't wasn't getting paid for it. I'm still songwriting. I'm still not getting paid for it, but I am getting paid for it, but not quite what I was. But I still do it because I love it. And it's great to work with your friends as well with the same mindset, because you have a passion for it. Your friend comes along, he's got a passion for it, and you spend the day trying to write something, trying to make something decent, try to write something, try to find some good chords and some good lyrics. It's magic.
Um, so as a guy, I mean, your name is recognized. I mean, I remember, looking at that Ace Frehley album back when I was a kid and seeing your name on there, and your name's recognized. But I would have to think too that you might have the good fortune of, being able to have some anonymity in that, you could go somewhere and they say your name, or before they say their name, they might not know you. And then they say your name and everybody wants to come up to you and whatever. But do you have that sort of thing, or have you had that sort of thing
Well,
throughout
I
your
do.
career?
I do have it. I do have it. I have it in places where I play quite a bit, like Germany, Portugal. I play quite a bit. Those sort of Italy. And the great thing is I get musicians, young musicians, saying what you've just said, Sean. The same thing to me. I played in Italy over the weekend at a Frontiers meet, and there was a lot of players. And Ronnie Romero was on there, and
Mm.
not only Ronnie, there was a few bands called. One was called Art Nation. One was called Bonfire. There were a few bands on there, and they were coming up to me and saying what you've just said to me, which is great, saying, I knew your name when I was a kid, and we listened to your music and that kind of stuff, and that's nice to get, but it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me that people don't know me walking down the street, because I think it's brilliant that I can walk around and still do what I love. But I still work, still go out there, and I'm doing a tour of Germany next month. I'm doing like 3 weeks in Germany. And when I go over there, they sing all the songs. They sing the choruses to every song. Stop playing. The band stop playing. I've got a great band. Stop playing. The crowd keeps singing these songs, and they know them, and it's such a kick.
In my mind, you have a dream job because you get to write
Yeah.
these songs and you get to put them out if you want to put them out. You get to have other people do them. You get to kind of, you know, walk around, not have to be mobbed, but then get mobbed if you like. Really, you've got the Russ Ballard sort of thing where I think a lot of people uh, would be envious of your situation. Do you
Yeah,
feel
yeah, I
that?
think, yeah, I think so. People have told me that actually. People have said to me, and that's what I want to be. I want to be what you're doing.
Right.
People have said that to me, and I've got so many great friends in the music business, and I'm writing with some younger people now. A sort of I've befriended quite a few young people, and there's no generation gap, because music is the key that's keeping us together. That's when we go out from meals and stuff, and we talk about the same stuff. It's like there's no generation gap. It's wonderful.
So you got 26 songs on this double banger here, and you've gone back to God Gave Rock and Roll to You, New York Groove. I had this vision. I was driving home to do this to my studio, and my vision is that somewhere Russ Ballard has this bunch of songs that he said these are crap, and they're probably better than any songs that have been written by a lot of songwriters. Do you have that embarrassment of riches that you go back to, or you just got to put it away and focus on new stuff? How does
I
Russ do that?
prefer to focus, but I do go back on stuff. When you listen to stuff after 2 years, stuff you thought was crap, when you listen to it 2 years later, you think, well, this is pretty good. If I just change that around, just change that. So I'm reviewing a lot of my old things on drives, and I'm liking what I'm hearing. And I think I listen to things, I think, but that's really good. I could develop that. That's really good. And but I do like to. I've got so much stuff on my mobile phone. I've got so much stuff on the recorded,
Yeah.
little snippets of things. I sit at the piano and I play things on the piano and think, yeah, oh, click. I keep that and star that. I give that 1 star. Click, click, click. Might give that 1 or 2 stars. When it's a 5 star, I'll go back and listen to that this time next year. So, and sort of, and I've got hundreds of things like that, you know, and so I just love it. And it's still the same thrill. It's still the same thrill as it was when I was 16, you know, that same thrill, 17. And, you know, I'm playing much more guitar because I was initially, before I was writing songs, I was a guitar player, and I was a professional guitar player before really I was known as a songwriter, before I started to earn money as a songwriter, you know, and I knew all the people that were around at the time. I played in the same bands as Richie Blackmore, you know. I played in the Outlaws. He played in the Outlaws after I did.
Huh.
It was the same band. They wanted me originally, because I was a guitar player, you know. Once I started to turn professional, I didn't have to do anymore, and I'd stopped really basically stopped rehearsing, practicing, because once you do it, you think, you know, I know how to do it now. But you know, unless you keep up with the thing, it was me. It was writing songs that took that from me. That I could always play. I could always play, and you know, I was playing on hit records. I was playing actually before Argent were around. I was playing, you know, on hit records when I was 16. When I was 17, I was playing on hit records that did really well, you know. So I mean, it's got, there's so much to music, you know. When I go in the studio, I put down maybe a loop and then play bass, play keyboards, play guitar, play, you know, and do the backing vocals, do the vocals and stuff. And God, what a gift to have, you know, what a gift. I'm saying I'm so lucky to be able to do it, you know. But I have put the work in, even when I was young, you know.
No question. You have
Yeah.
put the work in. Is there an artist that you would go, I wish this person had taken one of my songs, or I could have written for this particular person? Because I mean, you've written for and with, and
Yeah.
your material is
Yeah.
turned up all over the place. But is there an
Uh,
artist that you go, geez, I would really like to do something with
yeah.
them?
I wrote with a few people, you know, when I was going back 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I wrote with a guy. When I was a kid, I was the same as I was a fan, the same as everyone. I was always looking at the names underneath the title of the song, you know. And there
Yeah.
was Lieber Stoller, Homer Schumann, there was Bacharach and David, there was Goffin and King and stuff. There was Povus and Schumann, and they wrote so many songs. I got a call going back 25 years ago from Mort Schumann, and he phoned me and said, I want to write with you. He was living in London, and I never knew he was living in London, but he wrote Save the Last Dance for me. You probably don't know, so you're too young to know these songs. Drifter songs, you know, the number ones, you know, Teenager in Love, things like he wrote Feel So, what was it? Feel So Good. He wrote, I said to him one day, we sat in my kitchen, and I said, how many songs did you write for Elvis, Mort? He said, about 30. I said, about 30. But I said, I love the Drifter songs and things like Lonely Avenue by Ray Charles. He wrote these songs with Doc Pomus. And I said, what was Elvis like? He said, I don't know, I never met him.
Right.
You know, he wrote all these tunes, you know. And we wrote four for his album. He said, I'm a big star in France. You know, I go over to France, and you know, they carry my cases, you know. So I'm a big star, you know. So I got on so well with him, but I didn't realize at the time that he was actually dying. He had liver cancer, and I wish I'd have known him longer. That's because he was such a sweet man. And but I'm very lucky to have these sort of things, you know, writing with these people and knowing these people and my friends. I've got so many friends in the business, and but I would like to have written for. I could still write for Adele.
Ah, yeah.
I could do something for Adele. I mean, if you no, I've written for the girls in ABBA. You know, I mean, it's very very different, but you know, I've done things for them and whatever. So I mean, give me a song, give me something, you know, give me a yardstick, and I will listen to it, and I will give you something. It's like writing. You can do magic for America. You know, I studied America when I was offered that. You know, can you write something for America? and they hadn't had a hit for 6 years. And I got their albums, I got their singles, and listened to the singles and stuff. And I thought, oh yeah, I could do that. I could do that. Went in the studio and wrote You Can Do Magic, because I thought that's right. It's hypnotic. It's got that hypnotic feel about it, like they had on the first part of the journey. I was looking for a riverbed, very hypnotic. Got to write something hypnotic. And you get the elements. It is a craft. Songwriting is a craft. You get those little elements that, yeah. What do they have? They have that. Um, so
Well,
it's great. It's a great thing to do.
well, in that song in particular, my girlfriend's a singer. I play in a band with her, and she's a big fan of yacht rock. And that song, we get the Sirius XM on where yacht rock all the time, and I bet you it comes up 3 or 4 times a day. That song,
Really
yeah, without question. Uh,
crazy.
yeah, it is. So it's one of those timeless tunes. So here's one I'll ask you. And I uh, first off, I want to say thanks for this because you were a huge part of my upbringing, growing up, and my learning of music and songwriting. Because you always go back and you try to learn from the greats. But do
Yeah.
you must have a knowledge of where you kind of sit in the whole plethora of the songwriter and the greats of the business and who does what. I mean, you're gonna probably, because I get the fact you're a very gracious, you're a very humble man, but you must have a pretty good idea where you sit in the whole
Uh,
world.
well, I guess I sit somewhere in the rock sphere as a writer. I guess because they've been very successful. But I mean, I've had others as well. Even soul songs. I had a soul #1 in America with Hot Chocolate in England. And I wrote 4 for them. So I mean, that was kind of disco, sort of R&B. So I can do all that kind of stuff, but it's very difficult to judge yourself. All I do is try to. You sort of look at however many have been hits. I guess that's the yardstick. I guess that people would say. I don't know. I guess I don't know really, to be honest.
You got a
I
pretty
not
good
only know
you
I
got a
look.
pretty good yardstick then, my friend. Let me tell you.
I, I look at the Burt Bacharachs. I look at Burt. In fact, I go back and look at the Rodgers and Hammerstein. I go back and listen to things like, "You Never Walk Alone" and things like those sort of tunes. But I did write a song. I did write a song. I started writing with a good friend. It became a good friend. I just heard a guy called Chris Winter. I heard this song, and he wrote a song from the viewpoint of animals. Each verse was an animal singing to humans, singing about humans, looking at humans, and singing them. It was fantastic. And when I heard this tune, I phoned Chris. I never knew him, but I got his phone number and phoned him, and we became really big friends. And after that, we started to write together for about 15 years, on and off. He'd come down from the southwest down to the east where I live. And we'd write from like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then they go home, and then they come back 6 weeks later. And that's what we were doing for 15 years. We didn't have much success, but we had a couple of together. But we had a few. We represented England in the. We wrote a song which was represented the UK's entry to the Eurovision Song Contest. Well, I mean, it wasn't something, but it was a really good tune. And we also wrote one. We wrote one for the soccer. It was for the football South African World Cup, and they loved this song, and they wanted to use it for the basically to kick off the World Cup and to be the main song in the World Cup, which was to be held in South Africa. So in the end, we wrote this song. It's called Hope. It was very African. It was a hope. All you need is hope when you have a dream. Nothing's quite as bad as it may seem when your spirit's low, with nothing to show. Look inside for love, and you'll find hope. For there are times when it's a pretty song, and in the end, Mandela heard it. Nelson Mandela heard it because we got his favorite singer to sing on it. And Nelson Mandela got in touch with us and said if you want me to talk on it, I could do not. He didn't say I'd do a rap, but he said I could do a piece in the middle, a piece of talking thing, you know. So in the end, he did it, but he wrote it in the end, and he said the generosity of the human spirit can overcome all adversity. With care and compassion, together we can create hope. There is always hope. And you know, the funny thing is, well, the sad thing is, the singer, before it was released, he made the album. Uh, it was the time of Obama. Obama was your president, and his autobiography was called The Audacity of Hope, I think it was called, The Audacity of Hope. There was another one called Hope. Uh, Nelson Mandela's was called Hope. So, so he's got 33% of the publishing.
Well, there you go.
Chris has got 33% of the publishing, and I've got 33%. Well, Mandela's got he gave it to his foundation. But yeah, it was good. It was a great experience to do that, you know. But I love doing other, you know, other kind of tunes as well. Because this is why I said about Adele, not only Adele, people like that, you know. I mean, I could do some really way out stuff, but I do intend to do some more things, and I'd like to get more, go deeper. Actually, to be honest, it's hard to write love songs when you get to my age. It's harder to write "I love you." I don't love you. Come back to me. Go away from me. You know, it's
Absolutely.
difficult. It's difficult when you get to 50
Well, yes.
and my age.
And I will tell you, just so you know, because you mentioned our president, I'm coming to you from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada.
Oh,
So
right. So
I'm
it's like so you've got to deal with tariffs.
well, we won't go there, but obviously it's making the news, but it's not really that
Yeah.
big of a thing, to be honest with
No,
you.
no, no, no.
Um,
That'll be sorted.
where
Yeah.
where do you currently reside?
I'm North London, about 20 miles out of London.
Right,
North.
right on. Not at beautiful, beautiful over there. Um,
Yeah.
so pre-orders have started. April 18th. This wonderful piece. Lots of music is coming out. Any defined goal? I mean, obviously you have your career that's been amazing, but a little bit of a COVID project, a little bit of probably maybe a passion project. Do you have any like what would you like to see this do? Is there anything in Russ Ballard's head that you go, this is what I want to see it do?
Yeah. You know, Sean, I'm doing a tour of Germany, as I said, you know, and I want to go on the road and do some more work. And I just hope this would basically be a forerunner and get a few more people. I mean, Germany's good. Germany's really good, especially Bavaria. I mean, the audiences are amazing. You know, they're amazing. So, you know, I am a bit of a performer, and I would like to do more of it. You know, but I can. You know, I mean, my hands are working. I can run. I run every day. Um, Life is good, you know, and I want to keep doing it. A lot of my friends are ailing, you know, so it's such a gift. You want to keep doing it while you have the gift. Somebody like John Mayall, you know, I spoke to my friend this time last year, and he was saying to me, "You're going to come out and do it? I'd like to book you to do this tour, to do that." And I said, "I don't know what I'll be doing this time next year," you know. And he said, "Well, look at John Mayall." He said, he's 79. And I said, "Well, you know, well, that's great for him, you know, but," and he's died about 3 months later, you know, it's mad. It's crazy.
Well, but people like Paul McCartney who still looks great.
He's still doing it. Yeah, still doing it. Yeah.
Yourself, I mean, I definitely get you're running. I mean, you look super fit, and then you see a guy like poor Ozzy who they're going to do the
Yeah.
Sabbath thing, and whether or not he makes it through or not. But I this thing for me, I think is very cool because the very fact that these songs that you're doing are still coming out and they're still. I mean, I heard Since You've Been Gone yesterday, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Um, you know. So I mean, it's incredible, and it's a testament to good music lasting regardless of era. So I want to thank you for those tunes, my friend, my new friend, because like I say, they help
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
help
yeah.
me.
Yeah. Lovely,
Where do I
lovely.
direct my folks to get this? I know it's on Frontier, but if there's any info you want me to share,
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. If any of your people there are listening to this, want to go on to russballardmusic.com. I mean, there's lots of stuff on there. The other one is Russ.B news at Hotmail uh, co.uk. And that's another one where, I mean, there's a newsletter comes out every month, and I mean, it's stacked with stuff. You probably wouldn't read it all, but every month I'm writing my autobiography on it as well. And I've been writing little bits for about 8 years on that. It's still going on, this autobiography, you know. So I mean, it's good stuff on there, and you get to know all sorts of things about what I'm doing, what I've done, and my friends and my family, and all my, you know, all my escapades.
which have been many. Mr. Russ Ballard, I want to thank you so much for doing this. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I always like to say when I meet somebody that I grew up idolizing and they're a great person, that's just an added bonus for me because, I've had the opportunity to interview people in my own backyard that weren't as nice. So thank you for that. And best of luck with this record.
It's my pleasure. Uh, and I wish all the best. If you turn up in London anytime, Sean, around the area, I'll treat you to dinner.
Well, my
Dinner's
friend, you know what? I'm gonna send John my contact info to get to you, and I
yeah,
will
yeah.
gladly do that, my friend.
Well, dinner's on me. We'll have a good talk then.
It'll be fantastic. Thank you.
All the best. All the best, Sean. God bless.
Well, God bless.